You ever been at that point where your body's exhausted, your mind's heavy, and your heart's whispering, "I can't keep doing this"? That's when the real story begins. Because greatness doesn't announce itself with comfort. It shows up when you're broke, drained, and alone, and you still choose to move forward. You see, success isn't built in crowds. It's crafted in the quiet, lonely moments when nobody claps, nobody checks on you, and nobody believes in what you're doing. But that's exactly when you build yourself. When you're doing it alone, you're forced to meet the version of yourself that doesn't rely on applause. You find discipline, hunger, and strength hidden beneath the fatigue. When you're broke, you learn to create without luxury, to find value where others see nothing. And when you're tired, that's when the test comes. Will you stop, or will you rise one more time? Every successful person has walked through that dark tunnel. The nights with no sleep, the doubt, the pain, and every one of them came out sharper, wiser, hungrier. So, if you're alone right now, if you're running on empty, if your pockets are light and your eyes are heavy, good. That means you're in the process. You're not losing, you're learning. You're not finished, you're forming. Because the world doesn't reward the comfortable, it rewards the consistent. Keep building, even when no one's watching. Keep believing, even when nothing's working. The version of you that will change everything is waiting on the other side of exhaustion. So, do it alone, do it broke, do it tired. But whatever you do, don't you dare quit. When you find yourself walking alone, surrounded by silence, it can feel like the universe has forgotten your name. The calls stop coming, the support disappears, and suddenly, it's just you, standing in the middle of uncertainty with nothing but your own thoughts to keep you company. But that quiet space, the one that feels empty and isolating, is exactly where growth begins. Loneliness isn't a punishment. It's the world's way of stripping away distractions, so you can finally hear what's been waiting inside you all along. Your own voice. When you're alone, the noise of the world fades, and you begin to recognize what truly matters. The opinions, the expectations, the comparisons, all of it falls away. What's left is the real you, raw and unfiltered. That's where self-awareness is born. You start to ask deeper questions. Who am I when nobody's watching? What do I really want? What am I willing to do to get it? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they are the foundation of every transformation. Because before you can conquer anything outside of you, you have to master what's within. Isolation is a mirror. It shows you your weaknesses, your fears, and your doubts, but it also reveals your strength, your patience, and your resilience. It's in those moments when nobody believes in you that you learn how to believe in yourself. When no one's clapping, you discover how to become your own motivation. You learn to build momentum without recognition, to keep going without applause. That's how leaders are shaped, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where consistency is tested and character is refined. Many people fear being alone because it forces them to confront their truth. They'd rather stay surrounded by noise than face the silence that demands honesty. But those who dare to stay in that silence, who dare to face their doubts and still keep moving forward, are the ones who eventually rise. Because in solitude, you don't just find peace, You find purpose. You begin to understand that the world's approval was never the fuel you needed. You've always had everything within you to create, to build, to overcome. It's easy to feel abandoned when the path narrows and the company fades. But that's not abandonment. It's alignment. The universe removes what's not meant for your next level. The people who leave, the opportunities that fade, the support that disappears. They're all clearing the space for something greater. You're being refined, not rejected. The process is lonely, but the result is powerful. So when you find yourself walking alone, don't rush to fill the silence. Sit with it. Listen to it. There's wisdom in that quiet. You'll start to realize that loneliness isn't emptiness. It's focus. It's the sacred space where dreamers become doers and believers become builders. Because when the world turns its back, and you keep moving anyway, that's when you stop needing permission to rise. And once you reach that point, there's no force strong enough to stop you. There comes a moment in every dreamer's journey when the resources run dry, when the bank account is empty, when the opportunities seem to vanish, and you're left wondering how to keep going with nothing in your hands. That moment, though terrifying, is the birthplace of resourcefulness. When you're broke, you begin to see the world differently. You stop waiting for chances to appear and start creating them. You stop looking for comfort and start searching for possibilities. The truth is, when you have nothing, you actually have everything you need. A blank canvas to build something extraordinary. Being broke doesn't just test your patience, it tests your creativity. It forces your mind to stretch, to innovate, to reimagine what's possible. When you can't buy your way through a challenge, you have to think your way through it. That's when real growth happens. Some of the world's most successful people started with empty pockets, but overflowing vision. They didn't have access to wealth or luxury. They had access to imagination, discipline, and relentless belief. When resources are scarce, your mind becomes sharper, your instincts stronger, and your focus unshakable. You begin to see value in what others overlook, potential in what others dismiss. When money is gone, excuses lose their power. You can no longer hide behind convenience. You start doing what you can, with what you have, where you are. And that's where mastery is born. The absence of comfort builds character, and the absence of options forces decision. You stop asking, "What do I need?" and start asking, "What can I create?" That single shift in mindset transforms you from a consumer into a builder, from someone who waits into someone who acts. There's a purity in being broke that people often underestimate. When you don't have much to lose, you become bold. You take risks you never would have taken if you were comfortable. You dare to try, to experiment, to fail forward. Struggle strips away the unnecessary and reveals what truly drives you. It exposes whether your dream was built on passion or convenience. If it's real, you'll keep going. Not because it's easy, but because quitting would hurt more than trying. You start noticing how every problem carries the seed of an idea. You become inventive out of necessity. You learn to use your time as your greatest currency and your mindset as your most valuable tool. You begin to appreciate every small win. The first sale, the first opportunity, the first bit of progress. Those small moments, when you're building from nothing, mean more than any luxury ever could, because deep down, you know you earned them. There's also humility in the struggle. When you're broke, you learn empathy. You understand what it feels like to grind in silence, to face rejection, to start from zero. That empathy keeps you grounded, even when success comes later. It reminds you that your worth isn't defined by what's in your wallet, but by what's in your will. Every day that you choose to keep going, you're building equity in yourself, the kind that no one can take away. When everything is stripped away, your priorities become crystal clear. You stop chasing approval and start chasing progress. You begin to value time over trends, purpose over possessions. You realize that being broke isn't just about lacking money. It's about learning independence. You stop relying on what others can give you and start relying on what you can build. That shift turns you from dependent to unstoppable. Every great story has a chapter where the hero loses it all. The moment when everything seems impossible. But that's always the turning point, the place where resilience is forged. The person who can stay hungry when they have nothing will always outlast the person who only works when it's comfortable, because hunger fuels ambition in ways comfort never could. The pain of not having enough becomes the fire that drives you to create more than you ever imagined. You start to appreciate the grind, not because it's glamorous, but because it's yours. You begin to understand that struggle is sacred. It teaches you to appreciate abundance when it arrives, and to never take opportunity for granted again. You learn to celebrate effort, not just results. You find fulfillment not in what you gain, but in who you become through the process. There's a strange kind of freedom that comes with being broke. You realize that you don't need much to move forward. Just vision, persistence, and the willingness to keep showing up. Every step you take in that state builds resilience that money can't buy. And when success finally comes, you carry with you the mindset of a creator, not a consumer. You understand that real wealth isn't found in possessions. It's found in perspective. So, when you find yourself with little more than a dream and determination, remember this: the struggle is not your enemy. It's your forge. It's shaping you into someone capable, adaptable, and unshakably strong. Because once you've learned to thrive with nothing, you'll never fear losing anything again. There's a moment every fighter faces, that heavy silence when exhaustion hits like a wall. Your body aches, your mind starts to wander, and your spirit whispers that it's time to stop. You've been pushing for so long that even breathing feels like effort. That's the breaking point most people fear. But what many never realize is that being tired doesn't mean you're finished. Fatigue is not a signal to surrender. It's a sign that you're getting closer to something that matters. The moment when your energy fades is often the moment when your potential is about to surface. Tiredness has a strange way of testing your conviction. When you're fresh and motivated, it's easy to keep going. When the world is cheering you on, persistence comes naturally. But when the applause fades, when your energy drains and nobody's watching, that's when you find out who you really are. Those are the nights that shape character. It's in those moments when you drag yourself forward, even when every part of you wants to stop, that resilience is born. Because growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in exhaustion, in repetition, in the decision to take one more step when you have nothing left to give. Fatigue doesn't just challenge your body. It challenges your mindset. It forces you to choose between giving up or digging deeper. When you push past your limits, you discover a truth that changes everything. There's more strength inside you than you've ever used. The human spirit is far greater than the body that carries it. When you hit that wall of exhaustion and decide to keep moving, something powerful happens. Your mind begins to lead where your muscles can't. You stop relying on energy and start relying on purpose. You stop being driven by how you feel and start being driven by what you believe. The most remarkable breakthroughs don't happen when people feel strong. They happen when they're running on fumes but refuse to stop. The artist finishes their masterpiece after countless sleepless nights. The athlete trains long after the crowd goes home. The dreamer keeps building when the results don't show yet. What separates those who make it from those who don't is not talent, not luck, but endurance. The ability to keep going when tired becomes your daily companion. That's where excellence is forged. When you're tired, doubt creeps in. Your mind starts offering easy exits, telling you that maybe you've done enough, that maybe it's time to quit. But that's not your truth speaking, that's comfort trying to lure you back. Every time you choose to silence that voice and take one more step, you prove that your will is stronger than your weakness. Each small act of persistence builds an invisible muscle. Discipline. And discipline will always carry you farther than motivation ever could. There's something sacred about the grind that nobody sees. The early mornings, the long nights, the moments when your eyes burn and your body begs for rest. That's where your future self is being built. You won't notice it happening, but every time you choose effort over ease, you're carving resilience into your character. You're teaching yourself that fatigue is not failure, it's feedback. It's your body telling you that you're reaching new levels of effort, new levels of commitment, new levels of you. The truth is, tiredness isn't always physical. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's the weariness of fighting battles that no one else understands, of showing up when your heart is heavy. But even then, you have to remember, weariness doesn't mean weakness. It means you've cared, you've tried, you've invested your energy into something meaningful. It means you've been in the arena, not sitting on the sidelines. And that's something to be proud of. There's power in learning to rest without quitting. Rest is not the same as stopping. It's the pause that allows you to rise again with more strength. Even warriors need moments to breathe, but they never stay down. Rest, refocus, and then continue. That's the rhythm of every champion. The goal isn't to never feel tired, it's to never let tired become your reason to give up. Because the dream you're chasing will demand everything you've got. Your time, your effort, your patience, and it will test you to see if you're serious. When the exhaustion hits hardest, remind yourself why you started. Picture the version of yourself you're working to become. The one who didn't quit when it was hard, the one who earned every victory through persistence. That vision will pull you through when strength can't. You don't have to move fast, you just have to keep moving. Every step forward, no matter how slow, still counts. The finish line doesn't care how tired you were when you crossed it, only that you did. So, when your body is tired, when your spirit feels drained and the road ahead seems endless, remember this: tired is temporary, but triumph is permanent. Every drop of sweat, every late night, every moment of fatigue is proof that you're still fighting. And one day, When you look back, you'll realize that the tired version of you was the most powerful version of all. Because they refused to stop. Pain is an uninvited guest that visits everyone chasing something greater. It shows up in the middle of your climb, when you least expect it, breaking your rhythm, testing your patience, forcing you to face yourself. Most people see pain as punishment, something to escape or numb, but those who understand growth know that pain is a sculptor. It doesn't destroy you, it shapes you. Every hardship, every disappointment, every tear carries with it a lesson, a strength, a new layer of endurance that comfort could never give. Pain is not there to stop you. It's there to prepare you for what's next. There's a reason why every story worth remembering has struggle woven into it. Without pain, there's no depth. Without resistance, there's no power. The fire that feels like it's burning you is the same fire that's refining you. Every challenge you face, every setback that stings, every betrayal that cuts deep. They are all carving something within you that ease never could. You begin to see that pain is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It reveals where you need to grow, what you need to release, and who you truly are when everything else is stripped away. Pain has a way of silencing the noise around you and amplifying the truth inside you. When everything is comfortable, it's easy to pretend, but when pain arrives, it removes the mask. It forces you to confront your weaknesses and your fears. It makes you question what you truly value. It's in those moments of raw honesty, when your heart is heavy, your mind is clouded, and your spirit feels fractured, that you find your core. You begin to realize that strength was never about being untouched by hardship. It was about being able to stand again after being broken. Every time life hits you hard, you have a choice. You can shrink and let the pain define you, or you can rise and let it refine you. The difference between the two lies in perspective. Some see pain as proof that they're not meant to win. Others see it as proof that they're getting closer to victory. The discomfort you feel today is often the training required for tomorrow's opportunities. Pain stretches your capacity to handle pressure, to endure challenges, and to stay calm when the world around you feels chaotic. It strengthens your emotional muscles, just as physical resistance strengthens the body. There's beauty in the moments that hurt the most. The heartbreak that feels unbearable teaches you empathy. The rejection that cuts deep strengthens your resilience. The loss that leaves you empty teaches you gratitude for what remains. Pain has a strange wisdom. It teaches without words, through experience, through contrast. It shows you what joy really means by taking you through sorrow. It teaches you the value of peace by letting you endure chaos. It reminds you that even the darkest nights end with sunrise. The truth is, growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you want to evolve, you must walk through discomfort. You can't build endurance in the absence of struggle. You can't learn patience without delay. You can't learn courage without fear. Pain is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to be. It doesn't arrive to break you down. It arrives to break you open, to make room for new strength, new understanding, new purpose. Once you learn to stop resisting pain and start listening to it, it becomes your most powerful ally. There are moments when pain isolates you, when no one can understand what you're going through. In those times, it's easy to believe you're alone, but that's not true. Pain connects every person who's ever chased something meaningful. Every champion has cried behind closed doors. Every visionary has doubted themselves. Every strong soul has known weakness. Pain is the great equalizer. It reminds us all that being human means being vulnerable, but it also reminds us that vulnerability is where courage begins. When you start to view pain as a sign of progress rather than punishment, everything changes. You begin to face challenges with gratitude because you know each one is teaching you something essential. You stop avoiding discomfort and start embracing it as a necessary part of becoming your strongest self. You realize that every scar tells a story, not of defeat, but of survival. Each one is proof that you endured something that tried to break you and failed. Pain is powerful because it awakens something deep within. The fighter, the survivor, the creator. It forces you to rebuild, not as who you were, but as who you were meant to become. It teaches you that strength is not found in avoiding struggle, but in walking through it with purpose. The next time you face pain, remember that it's not a detour from your path. It is the path. It's the process that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. And when you emerge from it, stronger, wiser, unshakable, you'll understand that pain didn't just happen to you, it happened for you. There's an undeniable truth about success, that most people overlook. Talent might open doors, but consistency is what keeps them open. The world loves to celebrate talent because it looks effortless. The gifted athlete, the born leader, the natural artist. But behind every person who's achieved something meaningful is not a streak of luck or raw ability. It's the quiet, unseen repetition of showing up day after day, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it's the reason dreams turn into realities. Talent gives you a head start, but consistency determines whether you finish. You can be the most gifted person in the room, but if you only move when you feel inspired, you'll always be outrun by the one who keeps going when motivation fades. The truth is, motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. But consistency, that daily discipline, that unwavering commitment, is what builds momentum. It's what turns small efforts into massive results. Each time you repeat a small action, you reinforce a pattern. Over time, those patterns become habits, and habits are what shape destinies. Every great achievement, no matter how grand it looks from the outside, is built on the foundation of ordinary days. It's forged in the moments when nothing exciting is happening, when progress feels invisible. Consistency teaches patience. It humbles you to accept that progress isn't always obvious, that growth often hides beneath the surface. You don't see the seed sprouting under the soil, but that doesn't mean it isn't growing. The same goes for you. Your consistency today is feeding the results you'll see tomorrow. What separates the unstoppable from the average isn't talent, it's endurance. It's the ability to keep showing up after the excitement has faded, to push through monotony, to embrace repetition. People often underestimate how powerful repetition is. Every rep in the gym, every page written, every call made, every early morning, they all compound. Over time, effort becomes skill, skill becomes mastery, and mastery becomes greatness. The gap between ordinary and extraordinary is usually just consistency measured in time. The road to success is never a straight line. There will be days when progress feels non-existent, when your work goes unnoticed, when your energy feels drained. Those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that test whether you're committed or just convenient. If you only give effort when it's easy, you'll stay stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. But if you learn to stay steady, even in silence, even in struggle, you'll separate yourself from the rest. Consistency turns effort into identity. You no longer try to be disciplined, you simply are. There's something powerful about people who can keep showing up even when they don't feel like it. They understand that emotions are temporary, but habits are permanent. They've trained themselves to act on commitment rather than comfort. And that's the secret to long-term success, learning to trust your routine more than your mood. The people who reach the top aren't the ones who felt like working every day. They're the ones who worked even on the days they didn't feel like it. When you stay consistent, you start to build trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, to wake up early, to stay focused, to keep improving, you strengthen that inner belief that you are reliable, capable, and unstoppable. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence, and confidence doesn't come from talking about what you'll do. It comes from knowing you'll actually do it. Consistency builds that certainty. You no longer hope you'll succeed. You know you will because you've proven it to yourself in 100 small ways. Consistency also breeds respect. People can sense reliability. They trust those who keep showing up. They follow those who are dependable, not just when things are good, but when things are tough. Leaders are not defined by talent. They're defined by their steadiness. They set the tone by their discipline. When the world is chaotic, the consistent person becomes the anchor, calm, focused, and forward-moving. There's another truth about consistency. It's not about perfection. You don't have to get it right every day. You just have to keep coming back. Missing a day doesn't mean failure. Falling doesn't mean starting over. What matters is your ability to return, to realign, to continue. Progress is rarely linear, but it always rewards persistence. The ones who keep going eventually find that the small, consistent steps they took in faith have carried them farther than they ever imagined. It's easy to admire success from afar and assume it came from talent or luck. But if you were to look behind the curtain, you'd find years of quiet persistence. You'd see early mornings, late nights, moments of doubt, and the decision to keep going regardless. Because in the end, consistency beats talent every time. Talent might give you the spark, but consistency keeps the fire burning, and if you keep feeding that fire, little by little, day by day, one morning you'll wake up and realize that what once felt impossible has become second nature. That's the quiet magic of consistency. It transforms effort into excellence, and it does so one steady step at a time. There is a moment in every pursuit when everything inside you whispers that it's over. You've given all you can give, tried every strategy, poured every ounce of energy and faith into the process, and yet nothing seems to move. That's the edge. The invisible line where most people stop. It's the place between exhaustion and breakthrough. The space where dreams either die or come alive. What so many don't realize is that almost is the closest point to success, not the farthest. It's the storm right before the calm, the hardest test before the reward. The moment you feel like quitting is often the exact moment the universe is asking, how bad do you really want it? The human spirit has an extraordinary threshold for struggle, but it's usually in the final stretch that the pressure intensifies. you start to doubt yourself. The voice of fear grows louder, whispering that maybe you've reached your limit, maybe it wasn't meant to be. But the truth is, what you're feeling in that moment isn't failure. It's transition. It's the uncomfortable stage between who you were and who you're becoming. You're shedding the old version of yourself to make room for the one capable of carrying your dream. And transformation never feels gentle. The reason most people give up at almost is because the pain of persistence feels greater than the pain of regret. But only in that moment. Regret is invisible at first, but it lasts forever. Persistence hurts now, but it builds peace later. The ones who make it understand that success doesn't always announce its arrival. It doesn't come with a sign or a guarantee. It hides behind discomfort, disguised as resistance. Every step you take when it feels impossible is a silent agreement with your future. A promise that you're willing to endure today for what you'll become tomorrow. Think about it, the darkest part of the night is right before dawn. That final push, that last hour, that extra mile, that's where the magic happens. The athlete who breaks a record, the artist who finishes a masterpiece, the entrepreneur who finally sees progress. None of them knew when their almost would turn into achievement. They just refused to stop walking toward it. They learned to see struggle not as a wall, but as a signal that they're getting closer. The greater the resistance, the greater the reward that waits beyond it. When you're standing on that edge, tired, frustrated, unsure, it's not a sign to stop. It's a call to trust. You've come too far to turn back. Every sleepless night, every sacrifice, every setback has brought you to this exact point. Quitting now would mean starting over later, because the dream doesn't disappear. It waits. It waits for the moment you decide you're ready to finish what you started. And the truth is, you don't have to take giant leaps to get there. Sometimes it's just one more small step, one more effort, one more day of believing. There's something remarkable about the person who keeps going when everyone else has stopped. That's the person who understands that success isn't always loud. It's patient. It comes to those who can endure the silence, the waiting, the uncertainty. Most people never realize how close they were when they gave up. They were one more try, one more conversation, one more hour away. But they stopped at almost. They let fatigue convince them that it was the end when it was only the test. The journey to any great goal has a rhythm. A beginning filled with excitement, a middle filled with struggle, and an ending that feels almost unbearable. That final stretch is where your character is revealed. It's where your faith either fades or strengthens. It's where you decide if the dream was worth it, and if it is, you'll find that one more ounce of effort still exists inside you. Because strength isn't something you have from the start. It's something you discover when everything else is gone. When you reach the point of almost. Remember that everything you've been working toward is already in motion. Progress doesn't always announce itself with visible results. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's happening beneath the surface, aligning circumstances and opportunities that you can't yet see. The effort you make today might not bear fruit instantly, but it's never wasted. Every ounce of persistence compounds. Every act of discipline adds weight to your future success. The ones who make it past almost are the ones who learn to love the process more than the outcome. They keep going not because it's easy, but because they refuse to let their story end in the middle. They trust that their pain has purpose, and that their effort has meaning. They push through the fatigue, the doubt, the fear. Not because they're superhuman, but because they've realized something simple. If you stop now, you'll never know how close you were. So when you feel yourself standing at the edge, tired, uncertain, on the verge of surrender, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself that this is the final test before everything changes. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to keep moving. The distance between almost and achieved is smaller than you think. And when you finally cross that invisible line, when the struggle turns into success, you'll look back and realize that the moment you wanted to give up was the moment that defined you. Because your breakthrough didn't happen in comfort. It happened in persistence.